I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is a public hearing related to, I'll read it exactly here, call the meeting for the purpose to field and answer questions to determine if Cutoff Road is serving a purpose and should be removed from county maintenance. And I'd like to call this meeting to order. We received a petition, just to explain the purpose for why we're calling the meeting. We did receive a petition from the residents on Cutoff Road requesting that the county consider closing the public maintenance of Cutoff Road and to seal off one end of Cutoff Road so that it would no longer be a cut-through road. And so one of the purposes, or one of the requirements that in order to do that, is to have a public hearing to offer an opportunity for public input, either in support of or against, and then any questions to be able to be fielded at that time. So it's more of an open forum meeting to give you guys more of a chance to speak to the board as to what it is that you would like to make sure is heard in discussion of that. I would like to, since I know we have a crowd, to explain that we will limit comments. I'm not trying to put anybody on a clock, but if we do get to a point of rambling, I may ask you, hey, can we wrap that up? So I'm not gonna give everybody a set time frame. And also encourage everyone to remain civil if by chance we have opposing views, that we'll be able to hear from both sides of what's going on. But I'd like to open the floor for anyone that has questions or has a comment that you'd like to make.
I'll go first. I just have a general. My name is Sheena Johnson. I actually live in Jordan's Crossing. And really the only question that we have is that road tends to wash onto Pettit pretty regularly when it's heavy rain. And we just want to know who's going to take care of cleaning that up. I mean, now we get to call the county and the county comes and cleans it up. But going forward, who's going to...
Well, Pettit Road would remain county.
No, but I'm talking about the gravel and the debris washing off from Cutoff Road out into Pettit Road. It's been, I think they were out twice, maybe this year.
You notice I'm
I know.
toward the road department on that one, so.
That's really the only, I mean, that's the only concern we have is whose responsibility at that point, because that's the humpy hill and that's a pretty bad spot to have a lot of stuff in the road right there. So that's really the only concern that we have.
Now, I'm going to speak, but correct me if I'm wrong when I say this. If this were to be done and there was not a public access that came in where Cutoff met Pettit, then that ditch would be reopened to where it would drain the ditch correctly there, if I'm not mistaken. So
I think she's talking about the other end of it, where it's kind of there on the hump. A lot of times it washes right down onto the paved road there, and we have to go out there and kind of sweep the gravel back off. And we'd still continue to do that.
Okay. Right. Yeah, because like I know, like the really heavy rains this year, like we had a couple of times 2 and 3 inches of sediment that had made its way out.
Washed through.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name's Jean Nolan. I have lived on Cutoff Road for 41 years, and it has continuously gotten worse. They come off the hill, and we did have a guardrail put at the end of the road, but they fly at our road and hit that paved road. We've had cars flipped in our yard. Our kids couldn't play because the traffic was so bad. And dumping. They go and dump at the end of the road, and then we have to clean it up. But it's dangerous. We thought we could correct the problem by putting a guardrail at the end of the road, but it hasn't.
And are you talking on the Henderson Mountain side or on the Pettit Road
Yes,
side?
on the Henderson Mountain side, I donated
that
land
guardrail?
there for that guardrail years ago,
Yeah.
to slow it down. That helped some, but it didn't slow it much. Once they get on that road, they fly. But the biggest issue is that other end down there where she's talking about washing out. It's a one lane with a deep ditch on one side, and the people fly there. You're gonna, sooner or later, somebody's gonna get hurt seriously there. Plus, it's a dump there that I've been dealing with for over 30-something years. I've cleaned it up by myself for years. And now that I've got some neighbors that's willing to help me, finally, now that this is a issue that it's gonna be dangerous if somebody get hurt, but the dumping. And nobody cleans it up. I've called the county time and time again, and there'll be weeks, I just go do it myself, and that's what it's
And there's
always
some
been.
nasty stuff that gets dumped.
Right. We had some hazardous waste, an oil dump there a few years ago, right next to Mr. Elder's place, that it was terrible, had to come out and wash it down. Finally got the fire department to come out and wash some of it down. But it was, they just bring in like waste from restaurants and different places and dump them there.
And these two,
Yeah.
this man right here and the people right back here in the back, whenever they turn off Henderson Mountain Road, if somebody backs out of the driveway, they're gonna get hit. I mean, people coming off of Henderson Mountain Road, they'll hit it, they'll almost slide into my fence. I live right on the corner.
Well, I've talked to the sheriff's department, and they informed me that they can't control the speed or enforce the speed. That's what they told me.
Because there's not a radar permit for Cutoff Road.
Whatever,
Well, there's a
whatever
speed
it
limit
is.
sign for 15, but
Yeah.
like, for instance, we had to put a giant fence around because we have dogs and grandkids, and we yell, slow down, and we get the finger and the profanity. We called the cops, they said we couldn't do anything, and they just, I mean, 4 o'clock in the morning, there's a truck being pulled over, people being inspected right in front of our house. It's just, people that shouldn't be going through that road just fly through there just to get off the main road because they know cops won't follow them through there. We've had hypodermic needles in our bird bath. We've had little tiny baggies in front of our house that look like there's been drugs in it. We've been picking them up, throwing them away. It's just ridiculous.
Any other questions, concerns, comments? Yes, ma'am.
Switching hats to the volunteer fire chief side, it's not safe for our trucks to go through that road.
And that was one comment I meant to make. We had reached out to all public safety for comments from 911, from the fire, and from the sheriff's office as well, as to would it affect their operation if this was removed, if there was no longer an access to drive all the way through, and all indicated that they didn't have an issue. Most of them, because it's paved to go Henderson to Pettit, it's actually considered to be a faster route to go the paved route, and for the size of your trucks, obviously.
Especially that end they're talking about out. I'd be scared to take a truck down through there right now.
Okay. One comment I'll make, and I know it's with everyone that's here, and if you've got any roads that you drive down that you see are dead end or have a cul-de-sac at the end of them, they typically have more trash that gets dumped in the cul-de-sacs and the dead end portions than they do on the ones that cut through. And I'm not saying that to deter any decisions, but it does become something that to understand that problem probably in itself isn't gonna go away. There'll have to be additional measures probably taken to try to find and locate who it is that's doing that. That's something we can have our marshal's office try to assist with, but I don't want it to be a thought that if cars are no longer driving all the way through, sometimes if they can drive and park at the end, then that sometimes can lead to that. So I just wanted to make
I
that
think that if it's shut down, if it's closed off, I think between all of us, we can control that.
They gotta turn around, Tom and Pam.
And they gotta come back out.
Yeah.
And they gotta come back out. And that's gonna be a problem.
For those I don't want another comment on that.
And I
May have
know this
opened up
probably
Pandora's
doesn't
box.
matter, but the dust in the summer with them flying through
Yeah.
is terrible. I mean, it's, the dust is terrible.
Now, I have one comment or question. This is my father-in-law's house there, and he doesn't live there anymore. He's in assisted living in Cartersville. We have a burglar alarm in there. Will we still be serviced for fire and police if the alarm goes off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still, you're still residents of the county, so you would still have to have access to where public safety could respond.
So do they have to go private to close that road off? I'm just thinking long-term, you guys aren't gonna be living there forever. I know you're willing now to maintain that road, but the people coming later, like, do they have to go to a private road for that road to be blocked off?
From a legal opinion, then.
From our standpoint, from the county standpoint, what's happening is they are removing it from the county maintenance schedule.
But are they removing it from the county maintenance schedule because we don't know that there's another alternative to maybe remain on maintenance but still be a private, like, have the road closed off?
The basis to remove it from the county maintenance schedule would be whether or not the maintenance of that with county money serves a public purpose,
Okay.
and that's the standard. that
So it has to be
we look
the
at.
whole public, not just the community that's served by that road?
Whoever comes into this hearing and voices their opinion, that's what the board has to consider.
I mean, I don't know how y'all feel, but I'm just thinking long-term. I mean, again, it has no impact on me, but if there's an option to not take the county maintenance off, because that's gonna become a burden on y'all eventually.
We've been doing it for 40 years.
They've been
Okay.
there 6 years,
I think we have.
they've only did the.
And we've been cleaning up the mess.
Twice.
And the county has no plans of paving that. We've talked to them. There's no plans to pave it.
I hate to live on it if it was paved.
Mm.
It would be
Oh, yeah.
dangerous if it was
Well, I mean,
paved.
if your problem is the dust, you know, paving would fix that, but there's no plans to pave it, so.
Yeah, it would fix the dust, but it would increase the speed.
Exactly.
So you're gonna trade one problem for another problem, if it was as a cutoff, it's gonna.
Right.
It'd be dangerous to live on it
Yeah.
if it was paved. It would-
There's gonna be people living in the kudzu at the end.
Right. Okay. You have any questions? Is there anything I've not covered on the questions? So what we do in terms of having a public hearing, we gather all the information when we go into, session, and we'll discuss it to be able to put it on an agenda for a vote, in another called meeting or in our next meeting. Once we've had a chance to discuss it, to make sure that all legal avenues reviewed, making sure as to how that can go in, and then we'll put it on the agenda to put it out there. So. Did I miss anything?
There's no other.
No other comments, no opposition comments in present?
Well, I'd like to say something. I came in late and I apologize for that. But I own a piece of commercial property at the end of the road and I own 2 lots on that road, another 7.5 acres. And I bought it from Charles and Donnie Craig as well. But about 3 or 4 years ago, since I've been up there building a house, I've seen a constant stream of cars, especially about 5 o'clock, coming through there, sometimes from both directions, just in front of my property and in front of their house, or their in-laws' house. The road narrows right there, and just last night, 2 cars were coming, almost hit each other head on. So it's a pretty consistent thing. People, I mean, I'm surprised how fast they come through there. And since I've been there for 3 years, 4 years, been building a house over there, that's another story. But it's been a pretty consistent issue, is people are constantly flying through there. And I've seen, because I have a bird's eye view from on top of the hill, I can see these accidents almost happen every week. And it's luckily somebody hasn't hit or had a wreck since then. And I know somebody did in their yard when I first
Yeah, they
bought
put
it.
the car there a few years ago.
So if, and then also my neighbor Tom and Pam Gray, that, they advised me this morning they were out of town and they wanted to express their wishes as well.
Yeah, I knew they had signed the petition
Right.
as well.
So that's all that is.
Appreciate it very much, all of the comments, and we'll take everything into consideration as we make the decision moving forward. So I appreciate you very much coming in and talking, and your passionate willingness. I think all of you need to give Mr. Pearson credit. He has stayed persistent with phone calls each time as we've tried to get this to move forward, to reach this point where we can get in here today. So I would definitely like to say thank you for your willingness to look out for your neighbors as well. Well, it is now 4:55, and we will adjourn this called meeting, the public hearing, and thanks to everyone again for coming out. We will go into our regular meeting at 5:30. For anyone that wants to either stay or come back.